Hello and welcome to a talkie on the Barefoot Miniatures channel. I'm joined today by
Dom,
and we're going to do something a little different for the channel today, though not a new idea by any means, and that is a book review. Oh my god, what an original idea.
Nobody's ever done that before, right?
Exactly. We switched just original thinkers. So yeah, we're going to do the Siege series in the name of... Is it just been discovered that The End in the Death is coming out on the 7th of November?
Oh, is that when it comes out? No, I didn't.
But it goes up on Amazon pre-order. It's pre-ordered for then, so it's going to come out then.
Oh, so right? Is that the same time where the internet breaks when everybody tries to buy their copy of the limited edition?
No, because... Oh, well, at least not for me. Because I'm going to get it on Audible, and it will be very smooth.
and some say barely an inconvenience.
Exactly. I'm going to... wake up on the morning and there's going to be no selling out of that book.
You can wake up at 10:30 past, because it's 10 o'clock when it goes on order. You can just wake up, enjoy the sun, and just enjoy
whatever
your day.
sun there is in November.
Yeah, and just make yourself a coffee slowly and get on with your day.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to be going over the Siege of Terra. That's... So we're going to be going through, we're basically doing an itemised list, haven't we?
Yeah.
I can move a little bit so that you can get more in shot.
Yeah,
we're going to be doing an itemised list. I'm not just running down them.
No.
We're going to have a discussion based on what happens in every book and giving our opinions on what happens as sort of like a talking point, rather than just
this happened.
This happened. Like, if you want to know what this happened, there's some pretty good spoiler reviews on Reddit, or there is the books themselves.
Or Wikipedia.
So helpful all the time.
Yeah.
So the first one, Solar War, obviously introducing us to the series.
So the books themselves, sorry, that was good. I never thought of that.
Oh my god. So we've got a Solar War in which... Should we do the artwork after the...
Yeah, let's do it afterwards,
So we've got... Mercedes starts on the prison Hulk.
Yes.
And basically there's this countdown timer where Terra's getting mobilised.
Things keep happening, random horrible things keep happening all over the planet, and people going crazy for no reason, doing mad things.
Yeah.
And Loken also has a bit to do in that one, so it's I think it's the most he does in the series actually. There's
Is it?
Well, the rest of the time he's just running around corridors killing people. But in this one, he's kind of... He gets a vision of her, is it? And he... No.
Then sets out to save her.
Malkador kind of lets him kind of get to her as well.
He's all organised. Yeah. But he starts with Mercedes on this prison ship.
Yes.
And then she gets transferred or something like that, and they're executing all the prisoners on this thing, and then she gets onto a ship and runs off with with just a trader system ship. I'm someone that actually likes the storylines of, do you know, the iterators and stuff like that? I think the abridged versions of those Heresy audios, like Horus Rising, that don't have the iterators and remembrances in, I think really lack because of it.
I think it's also after the first 4 books, when actually Fulgrim as well has the iterators in that, but when they're gone, remembrances, sorry, when they're gone, it does affect the narrative of the rest of the books, because you don't have that human perspective on how the characters are and that ability to connect with them. So and
when everyone's super, no one will be. It's really. I think that's
unless you're Alexis Pollux,
unless you're Alexis Pollux. Yeah, but they couldn't take this out because she plays a pivotal role in the book. Obviously, right. So we're going to spoil. This is like a 4 or 5 year old book now, but we're going to be spoiling everything up until and including the end and the death.
Yeah.
So if you care about that, stop listening. So she eventually, the story weaves round into it being a big trick.
Yes.
What the visions that she's been seeing that she wants to save like everyone from. Like,
Is
oh my
she-
god, I can't do this. She's the instigator.
She's
of that
literally,
downfall,
she's
right?
literally, she's like a bomb placed on the Phalanx.
Yeah.
The whole plan is to get her on that ship to mess it up.
And so that the Phalanx can't be used to transport the Emperor away.
Yeah, yeah.
In case of a bad siege.
Yes, so it's really clever, and I think as well the tragedy of it, and that plays into what these books and what 40k in its prime when it's really good is about, is tragic endings of characters trying to do the right thing, because they're all trying. Both she and Loken are trying to do the right thing.
We can't talk about tragic ends when Loken is there.
Yeah, right.
Because like the tragic end for Loken should have been like
when he died.
52 books.
Yeah,
ago.
when he died at the end of Galaxy in Flames, he should have died.
Yeah.
He really should have.
Yeah. But they could be a redemptive moment coming up in one of the books. We'll get there when we get there. I don't know yet, but obviously we're doing this one at a time and reading the books in between.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, we get Abaddon. Oh, so
There's some awesome stuff in this book.
Yeah,
there's some awesome stuff. The use,
Abaddon and Jubal Khan.
yeah, the use of a Caestus assault ram. It's awesome. It's like goes in there, rams through the ship, and they all come out and they just start kicking the crap out of Abaddon's guys. But Abaddon turns off the gravity. Sorry, and they're all floating and fighting. It's a really good visuals as they're going to town, and poor Jubal dies, but it's a really good death, and it's like that's an example of what the series should be, where people don't have plot armor all the time. It's like, oh shit, Jubal Khan just died. It's like
versus the sort of like plot armory rubbish fight of Horus Axamund versus Sigismund, where he's like, now I've got some plot armor, and they're fighting. It's like just Aaron have shields, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Like. I know that's a small plot point to say,
it's good.
But it's actually a nice little touch that like even Terminators use shields in Zone Metallis. Like, but there's too much plot armor involved in some of the fights here, and I think it's going to become a running siege through the series as we work through them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of plot armor involved there. Though then, it's after that fight that they blow up the space station, isn't it?
yes, they do as a countermeasure to stop their advance. And
There's a really cool moment is that they know these stations on the outer ring outside Pluto, isn't it?
Yes.
Or is it inside Pluto?
A lot of it takes, because obviously you got the Selenar and what Abaddon does. Yeah, I think it happens around it. It's been ages since I read it.
Yeah, well this is it. We're not going for exact accuracy, we're going for our opinions on the stuff happening. And it's a really cool moment when the Fists are blowing up those stations after luring the Sons of Horus in. We get to see Sons of Horus in Ducti.
Yes, you do, and that's a really cool. Something I really like in all of the books. In the Siege books, they feature that a lot. But it's just these characters are cool, and you see the differences between them and the older generation. It's a nice dynamic to the Legion.
Yeah.
And, and Abaddon as well. I think this is where Abaddon actually, like, the writers are like, oh shit, wait a minute, Abaddon's a pretty big deal in 40k. We need to kind of show that he's good.
We can't just have him fighting off ship. Just lip service that he's fighting somewhere else.
And being angry.
Which
all
is
the
what they
time.
sort of did.
Yeah, send him off to do that. These characters are more, we want to talk to these characters more.
It's how do they get to the point of Talon of Horus?
Yeah.
Which is like in the Black Legion series, which is a really good
solid
book.
Yeah, solid.
Like, how do you get to that point from him just like running through the place being like robber.
I mean, in Horus Rising, he literally has a temper tantrum and it storms out. So how do we go from that, to this?
It's a really good temper tantrum.
Oh, it's
great.
great.
Like, he has a temper tantrum because he's like, Horus is fucking wrong. Like, kill all the Xenos. Why is Horus even for a second considering not doing the Emperor's wishes? And then we get to this point.
Yeah.
Where he's more measured calm.
And he's like, he makes a deal with him. He's like, look, keep you alive if you build me some Space Marines. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool, all right, yeah, we value our lives. It's like, I knew you would, right, cool. He's great in this.
Yeah. So then we get to the fall of, I want to say, Saturn or Venus. Venus is where all the Void clans are.
Right.
Oh no, they're in the rings of Saturn, aren't they? So, but Perturabo brings in a moon. That is no moon. Like,
classic Perturabo.
he's like, how do you like shield all our ships coming into system?
Wow.
Well, you just like gravitationally shift a planet in the way of all the guns.
As you do. It's like, you know.
Yeah, well, he's like a cool moment in the book. Like I initially didn't like the book, and I don't mean like, oh, I liked it after this point. I actually initially didn't like it, but then upon it maturing on my palate, I actually have come round to it.
I think it's good. I think it's got tremendous. Like we were saying before we start recording, I think the Solar War should have run a bit longer than one book, especially when we get into these other books and what feels like treading water. There's a lot of scope to this, literally in the void of space, so there's tremendous scope to it. And I like that there's some mad stuff. There's always that fine line of space wall or using a moon as a shield to get yourself in. But
Space War, as in Ruinstorm, Space War.
Ruinstorm, the greatest of all the Heresy books. But yeah, I think you've got some really cool tactical thinking. You've got like good strategy, some strong characters. Like you've got the admiral whose daughter I think who died, and she takes command. Yeah. She takes command of the fleet.
Nothing like a bit of nepotism.
Yes. She earned her place, of course.
Of course.
But I'm trying to think what the other key moments in that.
So the final one is that there's the overarching theme of, other than the incursion of all the demons that we sort of referenced on the Phalanx, it's like, where is the War Master?
Where's everybody?
Where's the War Master? And it's sort of like, oh, here, this shows the War Master's genius when he suddenly appears at the end. Whereas I didn't massively get that from it.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, here's the War Master.
Yeah, everybody, and there's Angron riding a spaceship like in Doctor Strangelove. He's like, oh yeah, bitches, I'm here. It's like it's cool. It's a cool visual. It's a very intimidating image of like all of the
Primax?
Yeah, but what's the name of the ships? What's the name of the flagship class?
Gloriana.
Gloriana, thank you. All those Gloriana class starships just suddenly appear, and that's a cool image, but it is a bit It's a bit out of nowhere.
Yeah, I get what you're going for. There's this sort of like fleeting being aspect to it, where like before radar and shit.
Yes.
You don't have any way of knowing. As soon as someone leaves port, you don't know where those ships are. So then it sort of reflects on that in this, like, because they've always set Heresy, but 40k space battles as if they were naval battles.
Yeah.
So there's always that moment of like, just no one knows where this fleet is until you actually see it. And I think that comes across quite well, but I don't get from it like, oh my god, it's this masterstroke.
Yeah. They just kind of...
Yeah, they just sort of appear and win.
Yeah.
I like the book. I think it's definitely worth a read.
Mm-hmm. Definitely leaving you wanting more. And
even if you didn't enjoy it on the first time through, as I said, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it. I was just annoyed by some of the moments. But upon reflection, like a few years later, I actually really like it now. Yeah. I've read it 2 or 3 times.
I feel like with John French's writing, like he's really intelligent. You can tell he's a really intelligent guy, and there's really good stuff.
Are we going to get down this list and never say anyone's not intelligent on this list?
Yeah, I've got some opinions. No, but you can.
We can do. I'm not averse to that.
I love judging. No, he I feel like he doesn't necessarily get his characters as well as he does with his world building, and so it's. I think this is one of his stronger ones, but he'd also done The Lost and the Damned, which is an amazing book.
A different Lost and the Damned from The Lost and the Damned in this series.
Sorry, not Lost and the Damned. Oh god, I'm so bad with names. The one where Perturabo fights Sangron.
Oh, Slaves to Darkness.
Slaves to Darkness. Sorry.
Oh,
sort of the same thing.
That book.
It's a really good book. So yeah, he can do it, but I think with this one, it's a tough task as well. It's the opening of the Siege of Terra. So yeah, it's good. Yeah. I think it's a good book.
So on to The Lost and the Damned by Guy Haley. So we've got Lost and the Damned, and I'm going to go out straight away and say this is my favourite book in the series.
It's in my top 3. It's
in my top 3. It's only like 9 books.
I know, but it's like this one is really. I remember really enjoying this when this came out. It's got loads in it. Like there's a lot happens. It's full of good world building, and it gets that balance of having your super tier characters, but you've also got your on the ground perspective with the grunts, and you get the understanding of just how awful the siege is and what a tremendous, tremendously devastating effect it's having on the population, and because from the conscripts.
Yeah, so it starts with, say, like the initial mobilisation of the conscripts. We're introduced to Katsuhiro as a viewpoint perspective character.
Yes.
And like his journey from the hives and being conscripted onto the front lines, and we get then like the initial like experiences of the conscripts that are being used just as meat shields to like wear down the enemy's meat shields even.
Yeah, it's like it's the Zach Brannigan defence, it's like eventually they'll run out of bullets.
That's it, isn't it? It's like Horus only has a limited number of resources and we're going to waste some of them with the population of Terra. And yeah, I think it does a really good job, like Guy Haley does a really good job of capturing the feelings of what would be going on there,
and insecurity, and like because it's a really good character because he's just a normal guy, and you watch him have to deal with, because they call him a strap, don't they? I think they have a slang term for what they are, and you watch as he over the course of this, I think it's not just this book because he appears in a couple of others. You watch him progress and develop and try to maintain hope, even though there's literally none.
But that's why human characters are great, because it's not just like psycho-indoctrinated killing machine, because they can actually have like an arc of like their viewpoints changing. But yeah, I really like the battle scenes. Like I really like the depictions from the opposite side, from the traitor guardsmen that come down in the dropships.
Cutting his...
they're bringing the bird down! Yeah. They're bringing it down! Even when there's all the beasts in the description.
Yeah, you've got the beastmen in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and the moment where they're just like... I really like.
It's an incredible speech he gave.
But it's the discipline master that gives them a speech in there, and then they all start chanting and then run out with their like super toughness. Yeah. And charge at Katsuhiro's battalion.
You cut to their perspectives, like, these things aren't going down, what the hell are they? This is insanity. And it flows so nicely, and you'll see like a character that's introduced dead later on through something mundane or something nothing that noticeable that's killed them. Like you've got the guy cutting the star into his las rifle before the eye of Horus, or the star.
The octet.
And you're following his perspective as a counter, and it's great. There's some great character work in this. You've got this is the first time I liked Sanguinius.
Really?
Yeah,
because he didn't say "I die this day."
He does, but he doesn't.
Does he say too many
times?
says
it in a good way this time. He's like I don't. In every other book, he's like I don't die today. Round, I don't die today. I'm going in. I don't die today.
Vulcan lives.
Vulcan lives. That's not our one, but I like saying it. But in this one, he's
they say that a lot.
They do.
So we've just been watching Hammer and Bolter. It's actually okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
So anyway, go on.
But you've got in this one, he's kind of like got a Zen understanding. His powers are like in tune now. He's basically flying around the battlefield, aware of where the bullets are going to come. He can see where he's going. He's Optimum, and he's kind of at peace with what he's going to be. And he says to his boys, "It's like, it's okay, boys. I don't die today." And I'm like, "All right, Sang, you got it. It's good. It's good." And you've got we've got it on the point. The White Scars. You've got
the charge at the siege. So we've got
awesome scene.
Well, we get the perspective of the Death Guard basically being this actually really antiquated, archaic army that has like, I'm going to say like plague catapults, which is a nod to the old epic, I think. But like, I remember them being in old epic for some reason. So it's a nod to that, and then you get this charge of the White Scars that I think is excellently done. Like, the feelings involved in the charge for the White Scars being there, so like, oh my god, I can actually like see them as believable characters rather than just this like Space Marine shoot gun
Yeah.
It's not, you know, like...
Change his belt around, you know, draws chainsword.
No, but they'd always refer to themselves in, like, third-person, like, collective name, like Space Marine Change Bolter, Space Marine Fire Bolter. Like, that's... They're not, like, bricks like that. They're believable characters with... and there's just a really excellent description of their charge. And yeah... so that's the first part of the Astartes combat.
Yeah, and it's the scale of it as well. It's really good. I mean, you say epic, like with that release of the Epic gaming system, everyone keeps saying to me, "It's good to do the Siege of Terra," and I think like you're saying with all those units, it's taking into account just how big that battlefield is. It's awesome. It's like we haven't really seen that much scale fighting in a lot of the Horus Heresy books. There isn't actually a lot of fighting.
Because Istvan is sort of like just covered really fast and not really gone into in depth.
Yeah,
but I think this really captures it.
And you've you've and another battle as well. The battle between the Painted Count and Raldoron. When the
first on the wall,
bitches. It's like start tagging, and it's like, and you've got I can't remember his name now. So from the Night Lords trilogy,
Shrivok.
The Night Lords.
Talos?
No, you know the Raptor. Who's like walks around on all fours.
Yeah.
So he's in that siege. He's one of the first, because he says in that book, "Oh, I was one of the first on the wall, bitches." You know, it's actual quote, but he's got this bit of he's like imagining his feet being claws and all of that. And I don't know if that's a bit too much. I think that maybe is Guy Haley paying too much fan service, but it is still a really great sequence when they land on the walls, and then the Blood Angels come out with Contemptor Dreadnoughts, and Raldoron comes out, and they're just going at it, and Shrivok's got his demon sword, and this is a plot that's been running since Pharos and a few other short stories, and he's full on. I'm the best, you know. I can take this guy, and Raldoron just absolutely kicks the shit out of him, and the sword full on trolls him basically.
Yeah. So, and it's at this point as well. Like, I think we've lost a few, like as traitors have lost a few jewels. Yeah, but he doesn't like. It's been a real. I think the balance of power at this point between the armies is actually really well described at the moment.
Yes.
It's not yet... we'll get to it as we come through it. But like, I think the balance of power is really well described. There's this sense of foreboding across the entire book that's conveyed really well. Like, same with like Solar War was as well. Like, it felt like...
there is a doom.
The doom is approaching. Any more on
there's a couple
the
of
best
things.
book ever?
There's a couple of other things like this is where the bromance of Sanguinius and Jagatai kind of starts happening as well, because Sanguinius rescues Jagatai's legion.
We've got to learn from each other.
He kind of it's what's the line? He comes down. It's like, did you not? I can't remember the line. I'll get it wrong.
Two best friends.
But they make witty one-liners, and Jagadai's like, "Ha, you're good," and he's like, "You're good too."
How robust!
Talio, Rogaldon's going to be so mad at us. We do what we want. We're free spirits, brother. And it's like, but it's really nice character moments like that, and it humanises the Primarchs a bit more. Jagatai does a bit of learning and realises just how terrifying chaos is, and it's great. It's solid read, definitely top 3. Your favourite?
Yeah, my favourite one out of them. Yeah, because like these more stuff like the pilots, the descriptions of like just the aerial combat that's going on, like through the shield. I even like when they throw flyers that says Rebute Gulliman is coming, and like the propaganda system that they're using to keep people motivated. That's really cool as well. True. Yeah. This is the one where Angron like appears in the sky as a star as well, isn't it? And he addresses gives the terms of surrender, doesn't he? Is that when? Yeah, that's when Angron. I thought he was in the sky coming down for a few books. No, because he's on the ground and he can't fight Sanguinius because the Emperor's shield is still stopping him. So he's like got a force field, and Sanguinius comes up to him. "Don't worry, brother. We'll fight later in the later books. It's available to buy." Like, pre-order now. Pre-order now. I don't die today. And off he goes. So into the first wall by Gav Thor.
This video is sponsored by Older Gods, which is a terrifying cosmic horror film. now available on Amazon Prime, Tubi, and Apple TV. The film follows American Chris Rivers, who, after the disappearance of his troubled friend, travels to the remote Welsh countryside to investigate what happened, leading him to a dark, apocalyptic cult. I sat down to watch Older Gods on Amazon the other night and thought it was an excellent film. But don't trust me, here's what a critic has to say. UK Film Review described it as horror of Lovecraftian proportions that sends a rush through your system and makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Older Gods is available to purchase or rent on Amazon Prime now for as little as $2 or £3. If you can watch the trailer for Older Gods at the end of this video, or if you want to brave watching the film straight away, search for Older Gods on Amazon or click the link in the description of this video, if you're brave enough.
And this is where the first crack begins.
Yeah, like this theoretically should be my favourite book. This is like focuses on Iron Warriors. It's
so the one thing I really love about the initial few books, and even this one has that, is that it is really a battle between Perturabo and Rogel Dawn, and I really love that. It's like they're playing the greatest game of chess ever, and you're seeing both their methods and how they are, and obviously Saturnine will cover that more as well.
Yeah.
But in this one, we get a lot of Perturabo's strategies.
Well, his strategy, and I think his Perturabo's strategy is conveyed by Gav Thorpe through his lens to be, well, I'm really clever, and Rogel knows that I'm really clever.
And everybody else is like, of course you're so clever.
You're so clever. And then fucking hell, I can't even get it out. So Perturabo goes, I'm so clever that what I'm going to do is double fake Rogel by making Kroger boss, because we know he's on the way to becoming a champion of Khorne.
Yeah.
So has no tactics in him whatsoever. And he'll just do a frontal assault, and that will like deep fake Rogel Dawn, because he'll never see the most obvious thing coming. It's like Blackadder, do you know, like...
Yeah, they won't expect us to go over.
Yeah, but sir, that's the thing we've done the last 17 times. Precisely why they won't expect it this time. And like, that's exactly the motivation for it. And then Foryx is like, this might not be the best idea, are you sure about this? Foryx, you down a suicide mission!
Take all your best warriors and go into an unwinnable fight. It's like, yeah. And that's quite. I do kind of like the scale of where Foryx has gone into, like these giant manufactoriums and these.
Yeah, but the scale like, of the entire.
I do like that.
The Lionsgate spaceport is conveyed, and it's more of like a space elevator where ships dock.
Yes.
Up high, and you just go ride the lift up. And
which is what you were bringing up earlier about the lift before.
Oh right, yeah. So Perturabo, like he lands. He docks with the Lionsgate spaceport, and Rogel Dawn's there defending, and it's just before Rogel Dawn like goes through the door and like flees the Lionsgate. So that means Rogel Dawn must be like near the bottom, if not on the bottom.
Yeah.
To be able to flee, unless he gets like a Thunderhawk out of there, but he doesn't really say that.
No.
So, and also if he gets in a Thunderhawk, he just dies, right? Because
he'll get shot out of the sky.
Yeah. So he must be near the bottom, and Perturabo gets out of the top because he's just docked his spaceship. So it must take a long time for Perturabo. You'd have to fight through the entire spaceport.
Or he's just sitting on that elevator slowly.
Rogel, I'm coming for you.
Just standing on, listening to the music.
And then there's the bit where like Rogel stares at him and he's like, I got you this time, brother. And he's like, even though I've been defeated, I still won. And he's like, what? What?
That's. I don't think you understand what winning is. It's like...
Yeah. So I do like the bits in this book where like Foryx, I think, as a character in this book is really good. Yeah.
His that story, like how they're fighting for their lives tooth and nail, and just the way they're not romantic with it. It's not romanticizing what they are. They're like, right, he's dead, shit, okay, crack on. It's like, and one of them sacrifices himself so that Foryx can get out. That's a really good sequence. But.
Yeah, and he's one of the ones where it starts, actually, like in this like sort of sequencing around it, the questioning of the Primarchs in the heads of the Marines. So like where they start like sort of pulling apart not as a legion, but the legion pulling apart from the Primarchs, and I think that's a really well done bit. So yeah, like, do you know? I really like that bit. There are moments in the book that I really like.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you've got the human perspective in this one is the working the line crew, so it's the giant train.
Yeah.
That's making its way towards I can't remember where is they're headed, but with the most obvious twist in coming.
I didn't see it.
Did you not?
Do you know what? I read it and just took it at face value because they're confiscating the Imperial, like they steal the Imperial. The Liber Imperiale?
The Lecto Divinitatis. Lecto Divinitatis.
So the Lecto has been taken away from everyone, not just these people on the train. So I was just like, well, that just follows.
Actually,
they're just doing it all over the world.
It does kind of fit, actually, when you say that. I don't know.
And loads of people have said to me, like, oh, I saw it coming a mile away, like, you thought it was obvious. I completely was just like, yeah, well, Rogal Dawn's telling everyone to execute everyone that believes in the Emperor because the Emperor's still not a god. Yeah. Like, kill them all. Yeah. Like, and at this point, that's the Imperial official line. So I was just like, well, they're being really efficient.
I think it's good. It does, like, being positive about it, it does show, again, there's good guys and bad guys on each side. Like, you've got these are innocent people who've been mistreated by the industrial war machine that is the Imperium, and they're quite in their right to think this way. And I like that. Actually, I reread it recently, and I don't mind this book as much as I thought. It's not as bad as I thought.
What, now that we're talking about?
No, it's just
I've read it a few times, like, because I like the Thorix bit.
Yeah.
Because I like it's not one of the ones that. Like this, I'll describe them as we come to. We're having hard times, either this, and we made a list of talking points before. We're having a very hard time not jumping about everywhere because they all tie together quite well. I've read this a few times. I like a few bits in it. It's been worthwhile rereading for those bits of the story. It's not one that I'm not going to go back to.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's this book or it is the last book where Kroger and Khan's like, have you heard the word of corn? And it's like, and starts, if you embrace corn into your life, you'll be better. And he's like, oh really? Okay, I'll just start praising corn.
So I think we thought that was Warhawk.
Is it Warhawk? Okay, all right, could be then.
Yeah. Good. Do you accept the Lord and Saviour, Corn Christ?
Go with corn.
Go with corn.
Collect some skulls. It's like,
yeah. Beth, bear me that he's that, and that's a good. It can't be this one because he's still commanding. He's just on the way of the Berserker.
Okay, He's performing his foolproof plan that completely dumbfounds Rogal Dawn.
It works. It's so simple. Like,
of course.
I mean, like, modern military strategy is all about frontal attacks because they'd never see that coming. So, on to the next book in the series, Sons of Selenar, and I have not read this book, and I have no intention of reading this book.
Right, so
I'll leave it all to Dom.
Okay, so Graham McNeil, he was a big part of the Heresy, and unfortunately, about midway through, he left to work for a different company, so he stopped contributing to the stories as much. And it's a collection of characters that first appear in Angel Exterminatus, Good Iron Warriors book, and it contains the greatest space marine of all time, Nero Sharokin, who defeated Lucius, but didn't feel anything about it, so nothing bad happened to him. He's
one of the biggest Marisus in
best.
All the Heresy.
Just a little bit better. I really like this group of characters, though. Like, as much as I despise the Iron Hands, this group of characters I quite like. They're a fun collection.
Yeah, well, it's a good portrayal, and not in this book, but like them in Angel Exterminatus and other books.
Yeah, is
a good portrayal of the Shattered Legions.
Very much so, yeah. Their limited resources, their struggle to work together, and their agendas, and it's a good little band of characters. And so in this one, they've basically, in a previous book, they have been, for lack of better words, totally fucked by Alfarius, and they are down to the last few guys. They can't really fight anymore, and they have an opportunity to contribute to the war by going to Selenar and stopping the traitors, utilising some resources. And spoiler, ultimately they all end up dying, except in cool ways, because I like these characters, except for the greatest space marine who ever lived, who manages to go into an eternal slumber on a spaceship that possibly will lead to the creation of the Primaris, will be a factor in the finding of the Primaris, and he may still be alive in 40k.
Really?
Yeah, I think he may still be alive in 40k. So yeah, it's a side it's a side quest. I kind of want to reread it now. I've only read it once, but I didn't hate it. I just kind of, I would have liked to have seen this in an actual Heresy book intertwined with what Graham McNeil wanted to do with them, because he clearly had to. I've got to end this story arc. I'll do that, and he does that again with the Magnus book, which we'll get to in a little bit. So.
And as you can see, I've already gone on to Saturnine.
Yeah, I've had enough, Tom.
So
it's a good book.
Saturnine, Dan Abnett.
So this is a bit of contention between us, isn't it?
This is. So this is the point. Right, let's give some plot points on this.
Yeah.
So we've got Ol Person or Ollie Person.
Yes.
Who is not Ol Pearson.
Yeah, he's just
he's just a random trooper with a fake out name.
Who's very fat and smells. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get it. I just read it at face value and was like, why the fuck is Ol Person here? Like, he got there fast. And yeah, he's a trooper with a Volkite Charger that's just rocking about.
Yeah.
And has like a heroic stand at the end. I thought that bit was actually done really well.
It's really good.
Like, especially then reading the footnotes at the end, or the whatever you call the notes at the end.
Yeah, when he's talking about what was going in
the motivations. Yeah, I thought it actually reflect. I've read this a few times. Again, it's one that I'm not the biggest fan of ever.
Yeah,
this is actually one of my low points.
So I think
the series. I
think this book is amazing, but it has a catastrophic effect on the narrative of the other books. In that, and this actually happens in Lost in the Dam. When I think about it, with what happened to Shyvok, they're running out of bad guys. They're running out of characters for the traitors, and this just basically removes a ton of characters from the board, and as a result, in later books, we get a lot of introduction of a new character, and it to only just die to Sixman's sword or just get killed in that way, and that I think is a bit of a problem. But with this story, I mean, you've got the Mourneville, I love the scene where they're watching Perturabo. I think Perturabo is amazing in this book. Like
he's portrayed very well. Like he's not doing any of the attacking stuff other people are doing, but he doesn't need to be. That's not his character.
No. He's just measuring everything all at once. And again, you've got, as I said earlier, it is really a battle between him and Rogel Dawn, and both of them have moments where they kind of acknowledge the brilliance of their brothers, and it's. I
respect you, bro.
I do respect you, bro. That's what should have happened at the top of the Skyfall.
I do respect you, bro.
They have a proper bro down.
Yeah.
Try not a bro down.
So I love to hate this book because I'm not going to say I fully despise it or anything. It's got some very good points. Abaddon, this is where he gets really fleshed out into being like his own person.
Yes.
Like outside of the Sons of Horus.
Yes.
Like, because he's actively disobeying Horus at this point, he leads his attack into the catacombs where they get the magical concrete dropped on them.
So bring up this point you brought up that kind of ruins the book for me.
So they've got this, basically, Arkan Land, it is.
Great character.
Comes up with like an instant setting rockcrete or concrete.
Yeah.
And they can pour it down into these cracks that are beneath the palace.
Yeah.
Meaning that they'll entomb space marines into these termites. Now, if they have this instant setting concrete, why don't they just repair the palace when it's getting broken down with it?
Yeah,
why don't they make defences everywhere with it? Why do they save it for one company of space marines? I mean, like, there's hundreds of thousands of troopers, the hundreds of thousands of space marines fighting. Yeah. They use it on 100 and save it for use on 100, then it never comes up again. Why do it's like Yeah, he just makes no sense. It's like the Horcruxes in Harry Potter that appear in the last book.
Yeah.
Or in the last film.
Or time turners in Harry Potter, which conveniently...
It's that sort of like Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, with horse shit.
Complete horse shit. So it also, for me... Right, let's get all the good stuff out and then I'll have my little complaint.
No, I love it.
So part of this attack then. Right, part of this attack, you love it. They teleport then into this chamber.
Yep.
And
Zone Mortalis style.
Loken's there. Of
course.
Yeah, and then there's the entire Justarin First Company get mobbed by... Well, there's Reavers in Tartarus armour, which is pretty cool to see, but it does them no good. All these Terminators get just destroyed by...
Bolterfire.
Yeah, by just like some... in combat with like Endred Har.
Yeah.
And like some of the...
Garro's there with basically Excalibur at this point, and
Yeah, and Little Horus has had this entire plot arc of him like regretting killing Torgadon on Istvan 3.
Yeah.
And then it like sort of swings round and he's like this war chief. And then he starts fearing Loken for some reason because he's dreaming about it.
He keeps on seeing him in the... Yeah.
Yeah, so then I'm like, oh yeah, he's going to fight Loken. But then they have him run off.
Oh yeah, and he's basically a petty villain at the end.
He's just like, desperate. I'm going to get away. And then so that he fights Loken. Yeah. And I'm like, like this could be an amazing plot arc. In Galaxy in Flames, he kills Torgadon and feels sad, even to the point where Abaddon thinks it's going to be a problem. And I thought the best plot arc for both Loken and Axeman would be like Axeman kills Loken, completing Loken's heroic arc that should have stopped at Galaxy in Flames anyway. But he feels nothing, and it mirrors how the Sons of Horus have changed as a legion.
That would be way better.
Of like being like these honourable people that are doing like something necessary. And even though they feel bad about it, to being these like hollow shells that have sold themselves to the warp, and he just feels nothing, and that is him dead inside.
Yeah, that would be a far, far better arc.
But instead, no, he cowers and like, does he beg for his life?
Not quite. He's pathetic when he's like the last act of a movie. Well, he's got Alkaland as a hard. I'll kill him. I'll freaking. He's like Bennett in Commando. That's what he's become. He's become Bennett in Commando. He's like, I don't need the gun, Loken. I'll
cool off, Axeman. So I really don't like that bit.
Yeah.
Then you've got like Dawn sprinting to the wall where Sigismund is holding off the entire Emperor's Children
and Fulgrim
Legion, including Fulgrim.
Yeah.
Right. And including a subjugator Titan.
Oh yeah,
which is like a massive Titan.
They've got those. Are those the transports they use?
It's like the tri-legged.
That's from Epic as well, isn't it? So going back to your inclusion of that, and I like that. I like when the Mourneville I like when the Mourneville start planning it and they start talking to the other Legion. Again, we're not seeing enough of that. We're not seeing the interactions with the other leaders and how they communicate and what
blood Skyping each other.
Yeah, blood Skyping all that. So, just check my tweet. It's like, you know. It's really good. I like that scene when they go to Eidolon, and I mean Eidolon's the biggest piece of shit in the galaxy, but they
other than Erebus.
Other than Erebus, fucking Erebus. I love that they're putting this plan together, and you see the energy of it, and they're all getting excited, and it's like, we're going to go do this. It's a really cool idea, and
to have that fail on
such a spectacular level. But the Emperor's Children as well. I mean, they kind of do the Kruger method of attacking, where they just attack this key point with all their strength and completely fail. But
it's like
stupid.
Fulgrim decides in this that like Rogal Dawn gets there in like record time, like unbelievable time.
Yeah.
It's like the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, everybody's teleporting all over the place.
Yeah, and Fulgrim decides that he's had enough of pain and he's bored of it, despite the fact that his entire thing is pain is like
everything's
pain
fun.
Is so pleasurable and fun. He's had enough of feeling pain and leaves.
Yeah, it's such a cop out. It really is.
Yeah, it just feels like a really hollow thing that doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah. I completely agree. It doesn't all that build up.
And it starts getting to the point where every traitor or every loyalist traitor duel, like actual duel I'm talking about, not just like a fight that happens.
No, the natural, yeah.
Like every duel, this is the point where it was like, there's no suspense in it for me. The loyalists win, all of them. Like in this book there is Janita Kroll dies.
Yeah.
But it's not a duel. It's just it's really brutal and well done. It's well written.
Her death is really it's so good how they do it, because it's meaningless in some way as well. It's just a kill, and how it's just a kill count for
which is a good throwback as well. But that's Janita Kroll is actually, as much as she's like a high up person, she's not a big character in the series.
No.
Do you know? It's not like she's got a big name attached to her, but it's not someone that's like been massively fleshed out. She's well written in this book, but she's not a big name for the series that's just gone. She might have a high rank, but it just doesn't matter about her at all. And it's this book that was like, I see how this is going. Because at this point, the last traitor win, Primarch versus Primarch, is Angron Perturabo. And that was against another traitor Primarch.
Yeah, you're right.
Like where they could only be one outcome to that. So it's that point that I realised this. So so let's go on into...
One more thing, I like the re-establishment of the remembrances, because it, like we said earlier, it brings back that human perspective, so we have reasons to go for things, and it also introduces the mad scientist guy.
This is a book that I really don't like, that I've read a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know, like it's got so many moments in it that are really good. I just don't like it, but I can't stop reading it.
Yeah, Phil's the same. Phil doesn't like Saturnine, but I think it's because so many Sons of Horus die in it.
Well, it's because, in the same way as I was saying about that attack, like, it's the Sons of Horus first company.
Yeah.
And they're like a big player that amount to nothing because of plot armour.
Yeah.
And, like, ill-gotten plot armour. And they themselves should have plot armour.
Yes, because they're the Justarian.
Because they're the Justarian.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just doesn't make sense to a lot. And this book, I think, especially when it came out, I remember on Facebook and everything, really split the community of like who likes it and who doesn't. And there was a pretty clear split of people that play a loyalist army.
Yes.
Like I like it. And people that play a loyalist army like it. People that play a traitor army don't seem to as... Oh, do you know, obviously there's exceptions to that. Like, it's not a clear, like an exact down the middle, but as a rule, that's how I've seen it when I've talked in this way about it. We also get all like actual. No, it's not. We've got a bit from actual old Pearson.
We get John Grammaticus and
and Leto,
Yes.
And Leto, the Astartes from another mother.
Yeah, literally.
It's quite a good bit. I like
it.
The inclusion. Like, there were some people that are upset about it. Don't mind.
I think it's like a cool exploration of the law.
I mean, just that it was. Do you know, like, it's not needed at this point.
Yeah, it's
like he's building characters that
we don't have time for this. Again, it goes to it like you're killing all these.
I've got to kill the Emperor. Get out of my way.
Stop and listen to this story, and then you can go. Then you can go. I like it, but it's. I think Dan Ablett. Whenever Dan Ablett contributes a book to the Heresy, he basically creates enough. There's more in that book to create multiple plots for everyone else to work on than there is for most of the 52 books that came beforehand. Yeah. And like Unremembered Empire is an example. You know, all the remembrances or the Mournival, all of these ideas he has that just kind of spawns so much else from it. And Saturnine kind of.
Speaking of one thing that spawns other things, this is where some new arrivals show up.
Oh yeah, specifically the one of the greats, Corswain of the Dark Angels arrives. Yeah, completely forgot. I
know because we've got it written there.
I'm glad you wrote it down. So obviously at the end, Corswain turns up like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Well, as we go into the next book.
So we've got Fury of Magnus by Graham McNeil again.
Yeah, all right.
This is very fast. I quite enjoy just reading it. Magnus gets given a deal by Malcador. and Vulcan sat there as well.
So, but Malkador makes him the deal, and Magnus doesn't really go for it, and then Vulcan just comes in and starts kicking the crap out.
But
of
he says to Vulcan, like, would you accept this deal? And Vulcan says no. And then it's, well, if you wouldn't accept this deal, why would you expect me to accept this deal? And that deal is to come and work for the Emperor again and abandon your legion, get a new one. Like, you can sit on the golden throne and have all these secrets revealed to you, and you don't go for it. Which, I like it. I think this is the one where we get, like, Space Wolves, like, having visions back to Fenris of, like, this Rhino is almost as big as the biggest of Thunderwolves.
I actually I've forgotten about the Space Wolves. I do like their bromance that they form with the salamanders, because you got those 3 salamanders that came with Vulcan. He's like, see ya, and they're kind of like, oh, what do we do? So they team up with these Space Wolves. It's like, and they're kind of like bonding, and I like it when Space Marines bond. I like when they become friends. It's I like that.
I just want everyone to be friends.
I like it when people are happy.
So, right, let's just go on. Let's go on to Mortis, John Friend, and this is what I would describe as, it's got a few like highs and lows.
Yeah,
but this book is what I would describe as like a 5. And like a 5 on the 1 to 10 scale is the worst place because it's so unnoteworthy.
Yeah, nothing. No, yeah, it's like it's disposable. There's so little happens in it. And it also brings up something that we talked before going on this. The Siege is too long. It shouldn't be 8 books. It should be 10 books. Sorry, it should be 4. I think 4 books would have covered this all quite nicely, kept it nice and tight. And in this one, it's like, Mortis doesn't even turn up in the book until the end. They don't actually have any arc in this. They're just at the end they turn up, and you've got Corswain.
Well, they're the ticking clock, aren't they?
Yes, yes, literally
that's
a ticking clock. Yeah,
ticking clock.
And with you've got Corswain's plot where he has a daring move because he's got to sell that model. It's like Corswain's got this brilliant idea, and it feels. It's like everyone really respects him, like the commanders of the fair. It's like, this guy's fucking ace. And it's like, of course you take the flagship of the Emperor and go down to the surface, and it's like this, we'll take this priceless weapon that we have and just throw it straight into the planet. Everybody, and it's a cool sequence. They all fly out in their gunships and their drop pods, and they just hit into the mountain, and they secure it, and that's it. I think they fight a demon, a librarian that I was really confused the whole way through. Going, wait, how are the traitor?
Was that in this book?
Yeah,
was that not in another book?
It's in this book where they land and take the thing, and he's got this librarian who I kept going, how do you have Calibanites in there? How do you have people who are loyal to Luther? On this, that doesn't make any sense, and it didn't I hadn't read Luther at that point, and Luther's where it happens, where you find out that Corswain meets Luther, and Luther gives him some Marines, and that's why he's got traitors in the mists. But I had no idea about that all the way through, and I kept on getting really frustrated, like,
this doesn't make sense.
But I suppose that's kind of all right. It doesn't really go anywhere. Oh God, you've got the garden. You've got like the Emperor's Children pleasure garden thing, and it's all.
There is one highlight for me.
What's that?
And people were very surprised when it was a highlight for me. But Perturabo blasting off again.
Oh no, I love that. Yeah, that's the best bit.
I really like it as a character moment for the Iron Warriors. Yeah, so Perturabo, because of the Saturnine debacle, like the failed attack.
Or his passive-aggressive move towards his brother, as some might call it.
Well, yeah, he gets he's in command of the siege, so he should be able to just
do whatever the fuck he wants, yeah.
He gets the command taken off him and replaced with Mortarion, who's going to do more, like, esoteric shit that Horus wants. And they want him to stick around and, like, provide his warriors still, but he's like, nah, this was the deal. I was going to be in charge to beat Rogul. If not, let's just fucking go.
I'm taking the Legion.
Everyone has fallen to chaos. There's no longer anything in it for me.
Yeah, and I'm not wasting my sons on this. It's actually like the most amount of affection he shows his Legion, I think, as well.
Well, it rebinds the Legion after Forrick's questioning him. Yeah. It's sort of like
we're getting out of it, boys. This is shit.
Yeah. It's sort of like they still the doubters that I think because some Iron Warriors do stay.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
The Forrick's fears in first wall, that sort of like arcs to here where he's like, like, we're not getting anything out of this.
Yeah, I've been denied what I wanted. All of this has been for nothing. Fuck this. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's not just waste it.
Yeah, and what was the other thing from it? Oh, I forgot what my point was going to be.
Is that Ignatum exists? Is maybe what you were thinking?
What's that?
Legio Ignatum.
Oh yeah,
The counterpoint to Mortis.
Yeah,
in this,
and their plot's
at
kind
the
of boring.
Mercury wall.
It's like, it's fine. Like, we're going to form together and do our own thing. It's all right. I've never really been drawn into Titan stuff, to be honest. It just doesn't.
I've not massively, but yeah, it's a thing that happens. So Garro, Knight of Grey, James Swallow.
Yes, his magnum opus, some might say. No one says that.
Yeah. So what happens in this, Dom? Because I have not read it.
What happens? James Swallow cut and paste a bunch of stuff from his other books to work as a flashback sequence with other perspectives. We see Euphrates Keeler's in danger, and she's important because she's a powerful force for the Emperor that brings hope, blah, blah, blah. Garro's like, I've got to protect her, I'll go. And he sacrifices himself to save her while fighting Mortarion in front of all the Death Guard, having this incredible, heroic last moment.
That should be over in half a second because it's a demon Primarch versus a normal Marine.
Mate, he's Garro. He
is Garro.
He's the goddamn best.
But he's never been the best fighter, so...
Well, he defeated a custodian in one of his books. And his sword is Mjolnir. In Saturnine, his sword is basically Mjolnir because no one else can lift it.
This is why I don't read the Garro trilogy. So yeah, onto Warhawk, and this actually
top tier
is again one of my highlights.
Yeah.
Chris Raitt, back to the Lionsgate.
Mm-hmm. It's great. I mean, it's technically the last White Scar book. It's basically another Scars book, but it's got and he's maintained his themes and his character arcs, and I mean, who could have thought you can make Death Guard relatable? But he does. He makes them like I've got a little pet. And it's like, he gets that weird little squiggly thing, and you just enjoy these characters, and because it's like, how do you spend your life living as a Plague Marine? And they live in a kind of state of bliss because they're just.
Well, that's it, because it ties into the old depictions of Nurgle, where Nurgle is actually not just... It's not like horrible disease and decay. It's this, like, death creating rebirth.
Yeah.
And Nurgle gives blessings to his children. He doesn't give horrible diseases.
Yeah.
They're blessings in the eyes of everyone that receives...
Yeah.
He
loves his children. He loves it. He wants everyone, and it's like, and that's a really cool depiction. And again, like it makes them relatable, and you're not quite rooting for them, but you've also got the.
I was rooting for them.
Yeah, well, you've got the politics in that as well, because you've got Typhus, who is the worst. That guy is such a douche. You've got his little splinter element within the Legion. You've got a really interesting bit where you're seeing what Mortarion gave up to save his Legion, and how much he does love his Legion, how he isn't as cold as everybody thinks he is. And you've also, and it's got something that I didn't expect to happen, like, because going back to what you said about the duels between the Primarchs, I did not expect the Khan to die and know whether he's dead or not. When I remember reading the book, I hadn't finished it, and that scene's just happened. I was like, they've killed the Khan. And then I suddenly thought about it. It's like, actually, that works, because the Khan doesn't really do anything noticeable after, and the Great Khan is a title. So it could be anyone that's leading the Legion.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Now, maybe it's probably, they're going to bring him back because sell models. But
yeah, and it's like a mutual loss, though, isn't it?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Mortarion.
Devastating for him, like to the point where the Marines, the psychic control of them, because they are manipulated, I guess, by Nurgle, they suddenly realise what they become, and they're devastated by it. Like the whole Legion's like, what the hell's become of us? And
so this is one of the things of, like, even though I was complaining before about traitor Primarchs losing all the time, this is one of the ones of like we didn't need a win here. This was very good. Actually, do you know, like, the book was good enough, and the whole character arc is good enough that, well, I'm happy to accept it when it's done well. If something's done well, then you can appreciate it and you can forgive things. Yeah, and I really liked how that affected the Legions. Like I liked how they actually get into those situations, like the tank combat that goes on, like the sealed tank combat,
and the use of the platform and the platform covering them basically like a giant cloud as they're moving in. That's great, and just and all the like I've forgotten her name, who's basically their mum, the White Scar's mum. She's a terrific character as well. Like, and we followed this journey.
Logistics lady.
Yeah, master of logistics. She knows how to use PowerPoint and Excel, which the White Scars do not believe in. It's anathema to them. And I've forgotten his name. He's the one with the bionics. The White Scar.
Solomon Khan?
No, it's on the tip of my tongue. His arc is incredible because he has gone from Scars, where he's this jovial, he's one of the main characters. He's the good guy, and he gets severely injured protecting her, becomes this embittered, miserable creature who even the Khan's like, he's not what he was, and his bionics make him feel inferior. And then he's in Saturnine. He has that last stain. In this book, he's basically the lone survivor, and it's him walking with a baby to the entrance, and you watch him come full circle, and he's gained like a Zen understanding of what he's supposed to be, and it's a great story arc for him. I like, and he now is basically in charge of the White Scars because he is
the most senior ranking officer.
Because everybody else is dead.
So. Yeah, really good book. It's like probably my number 2 after Lost in the Damned. Weirdly, I hate it. Do you know what? Like, I hate Saturnine, but it's like my number 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think
this might be my first
solo arc.
I think this might be my top. Because it's just so enjoyable, but it doesn't quite feel like a Siege book in some ways.
Why do I have such a love-hate relationship with
Saturnine? Because it's proper confounding you, isn't it? Confounding you.
No, because I hate so many bits in it. I just hate, and I don't think a lot of the arcs that are tied up, they were just tied up in terrible, childish ways. But
it's Fulgrim pissing off because I don't like this.
Exactly. But on to Echoes in Eternity.
One more, just because I love my bromance moments. Sanguinius giving Jagatai a phone call before he goes off, and he's like, just before I say goodbye to you, wish you luck, bro. It's like, they're friends.
Lame. Echoes of Eternity, Aaron Dembski Bowden. It's got a really good final hours closing in vibe.
Yes.
This is where the Titans are walking at the wall, and a traitor Titan shoots another traitor Titan in the back with its Ursa's claws.
Yeah, and those are the characters from Betrayer.
Yes.
And they've gone through some changes. It's like
yeah.
And again, this is in some ways the third book for the World Eaters story, and Word Bearers, because they're kind of tied together. But for ADB's closing that arc for all of those characters, including the captain of the Conqueror. What's her name?
Lotura Sarin.
One of the best characters in Heresy.
And she's been taken over by a demon.
But she doesn't realise it. She doesn't realise she's changed. She's got ghost remnants just walking around trying to work out, and that's great. I love that's
really good.
Great.
This is so I described this after I'd read it as the best book I'll never read again.
Okay.
In the same way as Saturnine, it's the best book I will never read again.
So I will tell you the problem I have with it is, and it's something that you brought up about how we need to get on with the Siege. We don't have time for this charactership. The problem is the Blood Angels have never really been well developed before the Siege came up. There's elements to them, but they've never really Raldoron. Name me a Raldoron story. There isn't one. The only stuff they have is really from
Master of Mankind.
Feared. Well, that's one Blood Angel.
Yeah.
You got Feared, the greatest of all. Zephon's amazing in this, but Fear to Tread is the only real Blood Angel backdrop we have. And it's really good, but I would have rather this was in a novella or a separate thing where we learn about Amit's history and you learn about his relationship with the world eater.
Yeah, because that's sort of not fleshed out enough for what happens.
Yeah,
that's the bit. That's what are one of the 2 reasons why I'll never read it again, because the Bloodspitter, the best challenge person in the world eater. Why do any of them fall to chaos if they're just going to get worse when they fall to chaos?
Because that's all that's happening.
Their combat abilities go down. How can Rogel defeat? What's his name? Fulgrim.
Yeah.
When Fulgrim is a demon Primarch, and Rogel isn't, why has Fulgrim gone to chaos? like, to gain extra powers if he's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
And it's the same in here. Like, why have the World Eaters as legionaries got fallen to chaos?
I've just realised.
Like-
I've just realised something we forgot from Lost in the Damned. They literally have to put Angron on in the prison for Vulcan.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's
It's
amazing.
so good.
No, it's sorry, because he's that much of a liability.
And he's Lost in the Damned, a great book again.
Yeah, it's a great book.
A great book. And yeah, so Amit, he kills the Bloodspitter.
Yeah.
The Bloodspitter gets resurrected, or like, maybe he doesn't die, but like it's like he's defeated. He gets his throat cut. He comes back, and we get this big plot arc of him coming back, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna, like, at least do the same to Amit.
Yeah.
Like, and Amit might get away, because this is one of the things that they never consider is like, the Loyalists have to win because we know they found chapters. Yeah, but they could just run away.
Yeah.
Like, they could just have the, like, blasting off again moment. Like, so we get this big plot arc of, like, the Bloodspitter coming back.
Yeah.
Just to die again.
Yeah.
And he's like, why didn't you just leave him dead the first time?
Yeah, and
he didn't need this, like, double, like, putting the boot in.
And you've introduced yet another new character with him, who's his evil word bearer friend, because they've killed off the head of the word bearers at this point, because he sacrificed himself to save Babylon. Zadulayak. Like, yet another character gone with no one to replace that, and no one. So we've got to introduce this guy as well. So it is like a sudden you build stop for a minute to do all this, and then it's
like the last seasons of Community.
Yeah, they're hemorrhaging characters, so they got to repilot each season to do it. But it's not that it's bad. Like, the Blood Angel background stuff's awesome. Like, all of the stuff involving Sanguinius. This maybe should have been the Sanguinius Primarch book. The stuff involving that, or a separate book that ADB could have written. But that guy is notoriously slow. But for the quality you get, I guess it's worth it. But it's so good in many ways. Like, Arkenlang as the perspective, he's this. He's not a he's. It's, I guess it is almost fan service bringing back Zaphon, like, after he's sort of his ignoble death in Saturnine. But I like those characters, I like their interactions, and I love the fact...
I don't get why they have to come back. It's a death is a meaningful plot point. Like, I know Dreadnought technology exists, but that's not how these characters are coming back.
No.
There's just, like, plot armour, like, Loken's still alive, plot armour, Zephon's not properly dead.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
let them rest and have their moment of sacrifice for the cause.
I think that's why Jubal's death resonates. I remember that death so well, because it's like, oh shit.
Oh, don't worry, he'll be back in End in the Death.
Yeah, everybody's coming back. It's like a Fast and Furious movie. Everybody comes back. It's like nobody dies. It's a shame. It's kind of a bit, because this book is so long and so full of stuff happening. It does kind of kill the momentum, and then you've got to deal with the fact that he's got to fight Kabanda, and Kabanda's got his own little plot as well.
He gets his plot. He comes back.
Yeah.
And he's got this entire plot arc, and then he fights Sanguinius, and Sanguinius defeats him, and it's a really hard battle.
Yeah.
And it's like Sanguinius wins by the skin of his teeth, and he's like exhausted. He's described as like exhausted by the fight. And then immediately afterwards, Angron rocks up, and he gets a bit of a second wind, which, like, fine, cool, but why is Angron the champion of Khorne? And, like, why has he been anointed by Khorne and become this demon Primarch? If, like, I know he's like, so he's killing Sanguinius on his sword. He's got him spitted, and Sanguinius just, like, reaches up and rips out the cables. But the whole point of him becoming a demon prince was so that the nails and cables, like, into his brain
weren't going to kill him. Yeah.
And he pulls them out, and it kills him. And he's, well, so I get how Sanguinius has to fight Angron. We know Sanguinius, like, it's all the excuses have been up to, like, the Siege series and Heresy. It's been like, they're all unreliable narrators, so we can change anything that we want. Why don't Sanguinius just, like, have a battle? And then he's like, right, the gate's about to close, it's like coming in. Yeah. And he, like, flies through the gate just as it...
Yeah, that would be,
and gets away from Angron. That could have been, like, him choosing at that point to make that not be his day to die.
Yeah.
Like, and that would have been a character decision, that it's not just out of his control that he dies on the Vengeful Spirit, but it's something that he accepts and he's now actively ensuring happens because he knows the outcome.
Which is kind of something that happens in the next book, but it's because he knows where he's supposed to do.
Then like so he robs Angron of any like. He might as well just carve his name in his heart. Like he's
yeah.
He just sort of kills the book. How does he take on two of Khorne's like
basically
best guys?
Yeah. Who are kind of shit, and
manages to defeat them, and then he's as soon as he's off every time Sanguinius is wounded in this book, as soon as the wound has the description of the wound is finished,
but he rolls a 5.
It no longer he rolls
a 5.
He no longer dies back to full health.
Yeah.
And then he's like, how is he pulled off this blade that spitted him?
And
then just immediately completely fine.
He's got a limp. He's got a little limp when he goes in there, and he's tired.
But overall, I think, as I said, it's the best book I'll never read again because I hate these two like deaths, comebacks, and defeat again.
Mm-hmm.
I hate them so much, but this book is very, very good.
Yeah,
I know I spent a lot of time just describing how much I hate those two.
I think if you took the Amit stuff out, the book would be considerably better.
Do you know what I might do?
Yeah.
Is I might highlight or tab the pages which Amit and
all that stuff
is included on, and Amit and the Bloodspitter. Just take them out. Take out the bit like I might go from like Angron rocks up to Sanguinius gets back behind the walls.
Yeah.
Just rip those pages out of the books for me, and just so that I don't have to read them.
It'll save you time.
A very good book.
You'll save time as well. You'll have more time to do other things.
Yeah, because so much time for
some activities.
Yeah,
I really like Arkan Lang's on the ground working with the serfs and the Skitari. And it's poor monkey, R.I.P. But he's got a disintegrator pistol. It made me. I said, wait, can I equip these to Praetors? I want one. I want one so badly, but I've got this gun that just basically dismantles people. We're fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like,
Moritat can have one definitely.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. But yeah, it was just that ground because he's a really good character in that thing. He's a self-serving arsehole. He's not a good man.
Yeah.
But he has this weird relationship with Zaphon, and Zaphon says to him, if you don't give them everything, if you don't protect these serfs, that I've realised I've mistreated my entire life. Because I like as well that, again, this should have been a separate book. He's realised he's an arsehole. He's realised he's been over the top and an arsehole, and he's
overly dramatic.
Yeah, and when you realise that Sanguinius has actually made him a new sword.
Yeah.
That he wanted to give him himself. It's like, oh man, I'm such a dick. It's awesome. It's a really great character moment. And I think this book is more character focused than it is the scope. Although it has a great opening where he describes that Terra's dead.
Yes,
that's really good.
But this is it. Like it's such a good book with all these bits.
Just tear out those pages and you're
it's like it's got a very good tone to the entire thing. Arguably, like the darkest before the dawn feel. If we go from First Wall to Mortis, the darkest before the dawn isn't there.
Yeah.
Whereas Warhawk, it's coming back a bit. Like, if it had just been Warhawk without the ones before it, I wouldn't have been complaining at the point of Warhawk. But I was because of the ones that had come before it.
Yeah.
But it's enough here and there, as it doesn't matter. But Echoes of Eternity, the darkest before the dawn, is really back. The traitors are a threat again.
Yes.
Even though they're disorganised, they're still written.
Because they're so... And they're coming in, like...
They're coalescing on the place. Their disunity doesn't matter because there are so many of them and they're blessed by the gods.
Yeah.
And it's finally now clear that the loyalists are going to lose.
Yeah.
Which I didn't feel reading it because there's always lip service given in the siege to the traitors are winning. The traitors are winning. But
you don't feel it.
From the perspective of everything that we see, we always see it from the perspective of the heroic stand, and then or the heroic defence that wins.
Yes.
And that then contributes to this atmosphere of actually it's going really well for the loyalists, but it's finally clear in this book that it's not.
Yeah. They've abandoned everything. They have enough. They've got no ground now.
Yeah.
They're just literally falling back to the palace, and it does that really well.
But still no A-tier win for the traitors in a duel.
No, well, absolutely not. Absolutely
I'm gonna
not.
And this is a series of, like, Horus Heresy is a series that I love God, I sound so negative.
No, I don't think, because I don't think you're wrong. I think there should have, there is always a victory at the end of these books for the loyalists, and it's very much skewed to their narrative.
I'd be happy with like 60-40, but like 60 loyalists, 40 traitors. But anyway, on to the final one that we'll actually be discussing. The End and the Death, Part 1 by Dan Abnett.
Part 1 of 3.
So we get... Everyone's inside the palace, it's going to shit. The Emperor is basically going to do this spearhead assault.
I'm very old and I'm very tired, which is
well, that was
Malcador's running arc. Sorry, you interrupted you. Sorry.
Yeah, so the Emperor's going to do his spearhead assault onto the vengeful spirit.
But how do we stretch that out over so many pages? Because I don't like this book. I don't like this book at all. I may need to reread it. Maybe I'll like it again.
Well, like Rogal Dawn has his like peyote vision quest.
That goes on forever.
Yeah, that goes on for a long time. We've got the moment that's like through the something, past the something, even past the something where the scribes are tolling. Like even past this, and it's like a 6-minute section in the audio where
and you think it's on loop, don't you? You think it's strapped. I thought that it's like. The way I feel it is like Games Workshop's like, oh man, we're making so much money with these books. It's like, Dan, how's the book going? Oh, I'm doing well, guys. It's a bit big at the moment. I need to get an editor. Wait, how big is it? Yeah, it's well over 1,000 pages. Wait a minute, we can make it 2. Don't worry about the editing, Dan. You just write whatever you want. We won't correct any of it. We'll just keep it all in there, including the spelling mistakes. Don't worry. We'll just pack that book so we can make another. And that's what it feels to me. Is like there is so much filler in this story. And
in this particular book.
Yeah, and it's not that there are some good character moments. I like the bromance stuff where you've got Constantine, you've got Vulcan, you've got Sanguinius, and you've got and Rogal Dawn having their little moments, and I like that a lot. I like my little bits, but it's just. It's just another corridor fight. Oh, these two characters are fighting together. Another corridor fight, fighting in the street, blah blah, bang bang. It's become really repetitive at this point, and it's well written. It's beautifully written, but you've got all Pearson's group who I don't know if I care about them. It's like you've got elements
not particularly.
I love John Grammaticus. You have that cool bit when he's in the Mastodon.
Do you love John Grammaticus?
I think he's a great character. I think in Legion, which is
I think when he got ejected in Legion, that should have been
the end of him. Done. Yeah, probably.
As in, like I think he was a good character in that. Like,
that's
very good.
I think he might be. I think
So I'm very into short, sharp characters.
Game of Thrones style, people should die, and the plot armor of some of these characters is kind of ridiculous in some cases. It's like, there's so much. Just the momentum of the book, it dragged, and I don't even really remember anything in it except for when the Emperor finally gets off and does something. I do think Malcador is wonderful in it, like so well written. It's like you see him really vulnerable. You see. He knows his time's come to an end, and it's a really great sequence when he's walking the steps and he's going up to the throne and
and the tiredness of Malcador really comes across in the end of the day. I didn't mind it.
Yeah,
like it's not a high flyer for me.
Yeah,
but it's not in the dumps with Saturnine weirdly and End in the Death.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Like. I've got so many good things to say about Saturnine and End in the Death, but I hate them. It's not. It doesn't split me like that. It's again we're at a Mortis for me.
Yeah.
Where I think it does some things very well, like the tiredness of Malcador, like the significance of him, like having to take up the throne, and he knows that this will be his final thing that he ever does, and it'll hollow him out. I think that's really good. Like I slightly like the corrupting influence of chaos on Rogal Dawn.
Oh yeah, when they're trying to turn
in each peyote vision.
Maybe if it wasn't like it felt like 200 pages of it though.
It just went on a bit too long. But I think as a plot point, I quite liked it.
I think
when he finally overcomes it, as we assume he will.
Yeah.
Like I think it will be a good point for Rogel Dawn to have resisted that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's very much on. It's like that cliffhanger.
It's not even a cliffhanger.
Not the cliffhanger,
Yeah.
but like we've had the. Do you know like where you have like a build-up episode?
Yeah.
It's like the first season of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. It's like slow, not too much happening, and it leads to when he throws his chemical bomb or whatever he. You know what it reminded me of when I was reading, because this ending comes out of nowhere as well. But they're in the library with him and Kirill Cinnamon, Loken, and someone other person, and we referenced Harry Potter a bit earlier. This is literally the scene from the Deathly Hallows when they're in the library trying to work out what Horcruxes are. It's literally the same thing. They suddenly stop to work out. Wait, how do we stop this? Maybe it'll be in one of these books. It's like, this isn't the time for this. It's like, but that's it. That's like Kirill Cinnamon goes to a library, and it's like, okay, all right. And you've got the mad. I like the bit where the mad scientist, because everybody's afraid of him because he's so dangerous.
Yeah.
Uses logic to defeat the custodians, and that's cool. But I just
that is actually a really good bit. He does have these moments.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's every single book in this series, well, except for me on Garro and Sons of Selenar, every single main book in this series is worth reading.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, I think I'm looking forward to part 2. I am looking forward to part 2.
Because we're kind of going into unknown territory now. Like,
yeah.
That's the only thing we know for sure is that Sanguinius is going to fight with Horus.
Because there's we've got the slight description of like the fight with Horus, but actually getting there and the sort of like Dragon Ball Z style 100-page fight scene.
Yeah. Constantly powering up. It's going to be glorious.
It is an exciting point for me, and hopefully it will live up to what the end books of Heresy.
As negative as I am about this book, I do think when he gets to his point that Abnett will deliver the goods.
One of the things. Abnett is a very good writer. I really like Abnett books.
Yeah,
Some people don't because he focuses too much on the non-space marines, but
I think he knows how to humanise space marines. Like No Fear is exceptional book.
Yeah.
Like, you know how he humanises the Ultramarines. He makes you root for them, and he's got such a skill in doing that. With
I was rooting for the word bearers.
Oh.
Yeah, he is, and I am hopeful for the end of the series.
Yeah.
Like anything negative that me and Dom have ended up saying is actually like.
It's only
this is our favourite series.
Yeah, it's from a place of absolute love. It's because I will reread these books. I know, but once a year I reread these books.
I go through them all. Oh, so I must have done. Actually, I've done Saturnine like 5 times, or like whatever it is, because I've read them all in order every time a new one's come out.
The only one I didn't reread was Solar War, which I regret now because I would have had some more points, but. Yeah, I remember I was in Thailand at the time, like either reading them or doing the audio books, and there is some really good stuff. Even in the First Wall, which I shout on, and Mortis does have some good bits in it.
Yeah, they're just the more forgettable ones of.
But again, I think because you could have compressed a lot of that into 4 books, I don't think it needed to be drawn out as nearly as it was. Yeah. But
so that is our rundown of all of the Siege of Terra books up to now. If you enjoyed watching it, don't forget to hit like, comment below what you liked, what you didn't, and subscribe to the channel. Because all of that lets me know that you guys want to see more content that's not just about gaming, but about the stories behind, obviously, the games that we play. Dom?
I was going to say, if you enjoyed it, guys, we will happily do an episode on Runestorm. Happily. We'll get Phil on it as well. It's...
Comment below whether or not you want Ruinstorm to be covered.
Because we have opinions. we have many opinions.
I've not read. Do you know what? I've not read Ruinstorm because you and Phil slated it so much.
I mean, the artwork alone I could talk about forever. It's. I mean, again, I'll reread it. Maybe if people want to see it, but I'll reread it. Maybe I'll find some good stuff in there.
Yeah. Well. That is our review. If you really want to support the channel that little bit more, there is a Patreon link below where you can get yourself a bounty tray, access to the Discord where you can tell us we're wrong, and some dice, and we will catch you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
In a bit.
Chris, thank you for following the breadcrumbs. I knew you'd be the one to find them. Now, listen to my voice. My breathing is steady. I sound fully conscious. I'm not what you all think I am. If you look through our findings, you'll see that we'd found sites, out-of-the-way places to perform their depravities. We looked wherever there were reports of overindulgent murders, anything ritualistic. And we found lots of them. We realized we'd walked into their trap. They were tracking us.
Are you burdened with religion, Mr. Duffy? Do you know why he doesn't answer our prayers? He's scared, terrified of waking something far older than him. He knows that by helping us, it would notice him. You see, your God is a coward. It answers me when I call. It listens. It tells me when it wakes, I will be rewarded for my devotion. And when it makes this world drown, I won't offer my hand to save any of you.